Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and today we are going to be talking about essentially Star Rail's best aging characters, The characters with the most longevity, the characters who have just been able to hold up in content for a very, very long time. Obviously, Star Rail is a game where every single character is going to be worse at some point, or they are going to fall off at some point. The design of the game is essentially meant to make you always want to pull for the next character, to always be kind of adapting to what's coming out, They're going to keep making content harder so that you have to kind of adapt to it, and yeah, that's just the nature of the game. Now, obviously, some people are always going to dispute this or fight against it. Like, obviously, there's always going to be the character loyalists to people like Acheron, Jingyuan, Zila, all those. But then, there are also always going to be characters who kind of defy the expectations that are put on this game and on them specifically. Characters who, no matter how much time passes, they will always be in the higher areas of a tier list. They will always fulfill some sort of certain niche, some sort of specific utility, or just not have a good enough replacement to warrant them not being higher up. And those types of characters are what we're going to talk about today. Star Rail, I don't think, has a lot of those types of characters, but I feel like there's also a lot more than people will ever give it credit for. And while there is still a lot of negativity surrounding Star Rail character design, especially recently, I do think it is still perfectly valid to praise some of these designs and how well they've held up over, in some cases, years. So we're going to be knocking out a few older characters first, and then we're going to be shifting more towards some newer characters who I personally feel like are going to hold up for a while. I'm pretty sure most of you know one of the ones I'm talking about right now looking at this screen. Alright, with that said, let's get into it. So, the first character I want to talk about today specifically is going to be Huohuo. Also, I appreciate that nobody's been mean enough to comment about how I say this character's name, because I really did try to improve my pronunciation after I got bullied for it a while back. But also, I can only say it by really emphasizing it, and I feel bad about it every single time. I need to do it this way if I want to say the name properly. I'm trying my best. Anyway, so, I think Huohuo was released in version 1.5? Huohuo was indeed released in version 1.5, I got that right. Alright, so, released in version 1.5, so that was a while ago at this point. And we're gonna go back to the tier list real quick here. Let's take a look at where Huohuo is placed. It is 0.5, 0.5, and then tier 1. So overall, still a really, really good healer. Unbelievably so. Huohuo is a character who just has always managed to stay relevant in her down periods, and then we'll always find there's always some character coming out who works with her so well. And as of today, it is characters like the Herda, it is characters like Aglaya, and in some other cases, it was also like Jingyuan, who kind of got resurrected because of Sunday, so now that's a good synergy as well, is to have Huohuo with them. She has just always managed to remain relevant in some way, shape, or form, and then a new character comes out, and it's like, oh man, Huohuo's the best option again, and it's like, how? How does that work? And it's because she has such a unique moveset that is not specific to her, but hers is kinda almost the best variant of it. So we've opened a tab over here. So, this is all of Huohuo's skills and all that, but the main thing we're looking at right here is going to be this ultimate. At a 140 energy cost, we have regenerates energy for all allies, excluding Huohuo of course, by an amount equal to 20% of their respective max energy. At the same time, it increases the character's attack by 40% for 2 turns. That has always been pretty good. The thing is, though, is that in most cases, there's a character like Tingyun. Tingyun gives a flat out, I'm trying to think, I think it is 60 energy in her base, and then if you have her, with all her Eidolons, I believe it's 70 energy? Oh, Ultimate regenerates 50 energy, and it gets to 60 at E6. Yeah, so that's actually even worse. Alright, cool, guys. So, pretty good. And in most cases, 70 flat energy is going to be really good compared to, like, if you're using Huohuo with somebody like March 7th Hunt. March 7th Hunt only has 110 energy. So 20% of just 100, guess what? That's 20. That sucks. So in a case like that, Tingyun would be better. But then we go ahead to Aglaya. Let's just pull this up real quick. Just real quick. Aglaya has a massive 350 energy cost. With a 350 energy cost, that is obviously immense. And the thing is, though, Huohuo's ultimate is going to get better the more energy that you have. Can you see where this is going? One Huohuo ult does the same amount as Tingyun's ult. Not to mention, you're still getting an attack boost from Huohuo's ult. Because let's scroll back over. Increase attack by 40% for 2 turns. That's not really like the premier feature, it's the energy regen, but that is nothing to scoff at. That is still really good. Now, ideally, the thing is, though, is that a Tingyun buff can still be stronger, and you're still going to get a lot of energy either way. However, instead of having Tingyun, now you can have Huohuo to help with energy regen, and you can now have Sunday. You see where this is kind of working out? By having Huohuo, who essentially can turn Tingyun's entire kit into just her ultimate, and then still be able to heal you, and being able to cleanse debuffs, which is very, very important, you can now make space for another better Harmony who's going to fit your team even better, which in the case of Aglaya would be Sunday, in the case of Jing Yuan would be Sunday. Man, Sunday's pretty good, huh? Feather brain piece of sh. But yeah, scrolling back here, Huohuo is just in such an interesting spot that, because keep in mind, let's look at how many characters give energy. We have 1, 2, 3. Yep. Yeah, there's 3 options in the game. We have 3 options. So at that point, it would only make sense that after all this time, she would still be a premier option for this. And really, because of just how it all works out, her slot is almost invaluable to high energy teams. It's like you cannot just fill it with another character. Because in that case, you're going to have to probably put in Tingyun. And then, if you're putting in Tingyun, well, that kind of means that you're going to lose out on having a different, more powerful Harmony, who can be like Remembrance MC, Sunday, Ruan Mei, Robin, like all these other characters. They're all going to be usually better options than Tingyun's flat buff, even though it is very good. So now by having Huohuo, that's all eliminated, you get a better team building set overall. It is just incredible what this character can kind of do, and it makes a lot of sense that her kit is just still invaluable to this day. And it's probably going to keep being invaluable, because I don't think they're going to keep making other energy characters. And especially, I don't see them making another energy sustain, at least not for a little while longer. So right now, Huohuo is in a spot where I really don't think she could ever drop too far, because there's always going to be a character who's heavily reliant on energy. And guess what? Huohuo is always going to be the best character for them. Let's go next to... I think the choice is pretty obvious. Next up is going to be Ruan Mei. The Ruan Mei was released in update 1.6, I believe. It was definitely the last update before Penacony. I know that for sure. So, Ruan Mei, it's also been a while, but once again, Ruan Mei has not been touched in terms of who her best team synergy is. No other character is holding up with a break team like Ruan Mei is. So let's scroll down here. Let's look at skill. After using her skill, Ruan Mei gains Overtone lasting for 3 turns. The duration decreases by 1 at the start of Ruan Mei's turn. When Ruan Mei has Overtone, all allies' damage increases by 32, and weakness break efficiency increases by 50. That is cooked. So now, moving on. Talent increases speed by 10. Or 10%. Either way, that's amazing. That's really, really helpful. And then when allies break an enemy target's weakness, Ruan Mei deals to this enemy target break damage equal to 120% of her ice break damage. Once again, that's just more good damage. Goddamn. And lastly, we go to her ultimate. Ruan Mei deploys a field that lasts for 2 turns. While inside the field, all allies type res pen increases by 25%, and their attacks apply... Oh, I cannot say that word. Anyway, when these enemies attempt to recover from their weakness break, it delays their action by an amount equal to 20% of Ruan Mei's break effect plus 10, and deals break damage equal to 50% of Ruan Mei's break damage. Yeah, there is no break character in the game capable of touching any of this. Going back to the tier list here, Ruan Mei used to be just the best general support in the game. Her buffs were unbelievable, 10% additional speed, sorry. Super good, super impactful. Meant that you could kind of lay off speed if you absolutely had to. You're getting a good damage boost. And then, it's always in your best interest to break enemies if you can, just because it's a good lump of damage. And, yeah, most characters, like, in a lot of cases, you'll want to go into a fight with some of the elements to break the enemy weakness. That's pretty fair, I feel. So, realistically, all of her talents were getting made use of in a lot of cases. The thing is, though, is that eventually Robin came out, as we can see, and Robin became the next best generalized support in the game, having a 100% action advance, having just immense damage on everything she does, really making the team stronger. It was hard to beat for most other comps. Ruan Mei still doesn't fall off. Ruan Mei is still good for a lot of these other teams. Robin is just going to be a bit better. Except, of course, for break. Ruan Mei is still the most important character for one of the top break teams. You have a Boot Hill, you have a Rappa, you have a Firefly, you want Ruan Mei. Absolutely, without any doubt. And then notice, whenever Fugue came out, Fugue wasn't built to be a replacement for Ruan Mei, because they know how invaluable Ruan Mei is. Fugue was built as a replacement for Harmony MC, permanently enabling Super Break, as well as giving another weakness bar to get even more break damage. And guess what? That weakness break efficiency? Oh man, in a lot of cases, you can shred the weakness bar in just one attack if it's low. That's absolutely cooked. Ruan Mei is by far just one of the most important characters to the break meta, and as a result of that, we see she's still at the top of these tier lists, T0, T0.5, T0, and it is perfectly deserved. Every good break team needs her. Almost any good team can make use of her if you just don't have the absolute best option. Ruan Mei is always a suitable replacement. And there is no character in the game who can do what she does at the level she does it. Your best way to compete would be having, like, an E6 Fugue. That is nowhere near as attainable. That is nowhere near as attainable as just getting a Ruan Mei. This is without a doubt just one of the absolute best designed characters in Star Rail. I have no doubts in my mind. And break will inevitably fall off in some way, shape, or form. And the thing is, though, is that Ruan Mei could dip a little bit. But because of just her general usefulness and how good she is for that one specific team, yeah. Ruan Mei is going to keep up her longevity for a very, very long time. I have talked about 2 characters and it has been 19 minutes. This is not good. The next character I kind of want to talk about is going to be a bit faster, mostly because, I don't know, I feel like there isn't as much to say, quite honestly. We're going to be talking about Gallagher. So, Gallagher. Absolutely phenomenal character, and Gallagher was released in version 2.1, I want to say. I'm going to say 2.1. Me in editing, correct me if I'm wrong. So, the thing is, though, with Gallagher, like, I could say a lot about him, you know, he's just such a phenomenal healer. He works in just about every team under the sun if you want him to, because you can build him a multitude of ways. But really, it's just, he is a character that is going to last because of just how simple he is and how well he'll work as a healer. And no matter what, he still offers a little bit more. Because let's look at this. The main thing you're looking at here is going to be Nectar Blitz, his enhanced basic attack. Deals fire damage equal to 250% of Gallagher's attack, and reduces the target's attack by 15% lasting for 2 turns. Alongside that, we have Champagne Etiquette, his ultimate, inflicts Besotted on all enemies lasting for 2 turns. At the same time, deals fire damage equal to 150% of Gallagher's attack to all enemies, and then that's how he gets the Nectar Blitz. That little area right there is already really good, but then we have to remember his talent combined with his A6 trace. The Besotted state increases break damage. That's huge. Every time a Besotted target is attacked by an ally, the attacker's HP gets restored by 640. When Gallagher uses Nectar Blitz to attack Besotted enemies, the HP restore effect of his talent will also apply to other allies for this time. Gallagher is just such a perfect healer who can heal you at any time you want by having his ult. It is just insane what Gallagher is capable of as a 4-star healer. He is just so helpful. And again, he works with so many teams because of the fact that he's just a great healer and he offers good utility. Because with the Besotted state, he can inflict a debuff. Guess what? That's good for Acheron. Reducing target's attack? That's always going to be helpful. You don't want to die. And not to mention, he's probably not going to let you die anyway. It is just... This is, once again, a case of very, very good character design that is pretty simple, I feel like. I mean, definition on that can vary, but I feel like overall it could be a lot more complicated. But at the end of the day, it works. It's not hard to understand. He's a very, very easy character to build. And out of it, you get a phenomenal healer who can almost always be a replacement for a 5-star sustain. I personally am just a big fan of Gallagher, and it's been a while. He still is doing amazing things. And even now, there's a chance where he's going to be one of the better supports for castorice with like a quid pro quo light cone, because he can move so fast if you want him to. It is just insane, and yeah, he's one of my favorite characters, so I'm just very happy to see that Gallagher is still doing really, really well in the meta. Moving on from Gallagher, I feel like there's a few characters where I've talked about them a lot recently, or in one of the other videos, so I don't want to get repetitive, so I'm just gonna say like this is a quick lightning round. A lot of the other sustains are mainly built to last. There will always be far better options for very specific teams, but the thing is though is that if you have a good sustain, you have a good sustain, and that's really all you need. Characters like Aventurine, 2.1, Linksha, 2.5, Fushuan, 1.2, 1.3 maybe? And then Luocha was just a little bit before her. Yeah, all of these characters, still really good. They're never really gonna fall off that badly. And they all offer something incredibly helpful in very different ways. Aventurine and Linksha are the far better attackers. Fushuan gives an additional like 10, 12 crit rate. That's always gonna be nice. Luocha, you basically don't have to use a single skill point on him. Like, at all. And he can get rid of enemies' buffs. That's pretty good. Like, yeah. So, all these characters never gonna fall off too badly. And they are definitely built to last, which is really nice to see. So you don't have to constantly be getting new sustains, because that can definitely be a pain in the ass. So, moving away from over here. There's a lot of characters I could talk about. Like, I'm gonna be real. I think at this point, it is very, very fair to say that Robin is always going to be in the upper echelon of characters because she is simply the best general support in the game right now. The thing is, though, is that now that's kind of being challenged by Tribby. Tribby is going to be very, very good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But at this point, I think Robin has kind of earned that credit that she is going to be in this game in the higher levels for a while. It is going to be, they are going to have to absolutely destroy somebody from a game design perspective to make them better than Robin. Like, that's gonna be rough. And when that day comes, I pray for the sweet release of God. I think the next two characters we can kind of talk about, I think this will be a good, like, little joint thing. let's talk about the two Hunt support DPSs, March 7th and Topaz. I will say, according to recent data, Topaz is actually starting to finally fall off a little bit because a lot of people are just choosing to use March 7th Hunt over her. And I have a video, I don't know if it's already out at this point, but I have a video about March 7th Hunt because I love her so much, and I think she is one of the most amazingly designed characters in this game. So, it's a weird, conflicting mix I'm getting here, but either way, we're going to talk about both of them, because let's keep in mind, Topaz has been around since 1.3, 1.4. Whenever that Bellaball continuance was in the Ethereum Wars, that's when Topaz came around. It's been a while, man. It is incredible that these characters are going to last so well, and it's like March has only been around since 2.5, but Topaz has essentially remained competitive all the way up until now because she's always been able to work super well with the premier Hunt DPS. First, it was Dr. Ratio because she gave a debuff, which was absolutely what he needed, and then she improves just the overall team. That's amazing. And then it got into Fei Xiao, which, once again, that debuff does a lot of work, not to mention, you're getting constant follow-up attacks to help charge Fei Xiao's ultimate, which is exactly what she needs. Topaz has just always managed to remain super, super competitive with the premier Hunt DPSs because she has such a unique kit that was made, at the time, not really to work super well then, but now she's just always such a strong option for these characters, and it's amazing to see. And again, we might be getting to the point where she might finally start falling off a little bit more, but now we have essentially another new version that will probably last for just as long in March 7th Hunt. March 7th Hunt, she gives an enormous buff to her Shifu in a 10% speed increase, 60% additional crit damage, and then on top of that, she has amazing personal damage of her own on a good turn, being able to pump out like 480% of her attack, and then with her ultimate, that's an additional 240% of her attack. And keep in mind, if you have a good buffer like a Robin, that number is going to be pretty good damage overall, and she is your sub DPS. Then you get a Fei Xiao who's probably going to do like 200k. That's a really, really good combination. Her having such a unique skill set, especially with her skill, so that she is so malleable to whatever situation you have kind of going on, it is such just a well-made character design. And it makes sense that it's in this kind of tier right now, the T0.5 of Apex characters, because she works so well in a multitude of situations, and she's built to really kind of last for a very long time because of her being a jack of all trades, but being at such a high level of a jack of all trades. Like, there was one time where I called Huohuo a queen of all trades because she was able to kind of be such a relevant part of any team you needed her to be, except for Break. March does the same thing, but she can actually be a part of Break. That's incredible! But yeah, both these characters have just managed to maintain such a level of competency with whatever meta was around them, always managing to be a crucial part to the Hunt archetype and just follow-ups in general. And it's just really amazing to see that, for some reason, with these two specific follow-up characters, they just hit it out of the park in such an incredible way. It's really, really impressive. So now we're kind of done talking about these two. Again, really love both these characters, so always like to talk about them when I can. I'm going to be honest, I could talk about some of the DPSs, because I do think there are going to be multiple DPS who won't fall off super hard for a while. Firefly is an example of one, because having her own fire implant is always going to be huge, because that means she can break anything she needs. Not to mention, Fugue exists, so even if she couldn't, there you go. But Firefly, I feel like, will always be a relevant character. Acheron has managed to continue to be a relevant character. And then a character like the Herda, I think a character like the Herda, because of just how beginner-friendly, just how free-to-play friendly she is, and how much potential she has to grow as a character, I think the Herda is going to be around for a while, especially since she is capable of maintaining dominance in every single game mode. She can be good in Apocalyptic Shadow, good in Pure Fiction, and good in MOC. And it's like, whenever I make these kind of videos, I feel like I always focus a bit more on MOC, just because that's the most available thing. But let's remember, being good as a character means Also, how I'm trying to think of the word here, but it's just how adaptable you are to every situation. So, a character like Boot Hill is really, really strong. And then you get to pure fiction, and at that point, you might as well just have Misha. Like, okay, that's crazy disrespect, but obviously Boot Hill is just not built for pure fiction, but he's so good in the other modes, he's still a good character. The thing is, though, is that having that dominance in every single game mode, that is really, really hard to achieve and really, really impressive. So a character like the Herta, just based on how her kind of skill set works out, the ideal partner she's probably going to end up with in a good bit of time, yeah, the Herta, I think she's going to last for a very long time. Overall, though, I feel like DPSs just do not have a lot of longevity, especially compared to like characters like support DPS, characters like Amplifier, Sustains. It is just not the same. So, again, that's my little talk about DPSs. I do think there are some that are pretty good. They'll last for a while, but they're not at the top of the list, naturally. So, I think what I want to talk about next is going to be the characters who I think are going to age very, very well. And right now, there are two that I want to talk about immediately. I'll give you 3 guesses. Let's start off with the first one that was released, which is going to be Sunday. So, Sunday. Sunday was released in version 2.7, and yeah. So remember that whole thing I talked about with Huohuo, how energy is such a specific niche to fill, and that is why she will always be really important? So Sunday can do that too, but then also, he is the only advancer in the game capable of advancing both a character and their summon. That is incredible. Not to mention, let's look at this over here. If the target has a summon, the damage dealt increase is further boosted by an additional 50%. You are getting an 80% boost if the character you're supporting has a summon. Not to mention, you will get a skill point back if you use this skill on whoever is the target of his ult. His ult regenerates energy by 20%, increases crit damage by 30% of Sundays plus 12, and again, it gives them the beatified, whatever it's called, state, which leads back into his skill. All of this, already so incredible. Also, you see that talent? When using skill, increases the target's crit rate by 20%, lasting for 3 turns. That is incredible, because now, one of the biggest worries for players in Star Rail is they want as high of a crit rate as possible, because if you miss a crit, that's going to tank your damage. So already having a high crit rate is super important. And now, if you get to 80% crit rate, already generally a pretty good mark where you kind of want to be, you now have a 100% crit rate. No further investment on your part, you're done. Now you can focus everything else into your other stats. And then, if you want to get away with just like, oh, well, I just want a 60% crit rate, guess what? Once again, you're getting now an 80% crit rate, which is still really good, and everything else is going into additional substats that you need to succeed. Sunday just does the job of so many characters all at once. He regenerates energy like Huohuo and Tingyun. He gives additional crit rate like Fu Xuan used to. He is an advancer who gives a huge damage boost like Sparkle or Bronya. It's all mixed into one package, and on top of it all, he is the undoubtable best option for any character with a summon or memo sprite. You see him right here? You see him right at the top? He should never leave this. He should never leave it. He is a character capable of working with every premier hyper carry crit-based character. He works with all of them super, super well, and there's nothing else to say. He is going to be at that spot for a while. His kit is just so good, such a combination of so many unique things. He is built to last. It's crazy that we ended up with him straight into Just one, or I guess two updates later into Tribby. Tribby is going to be the next new great support. I've already kind of made mention of it. I think Tribby is going to be in the same realm as Robin. Just a universally great character, useful for almost every single situation. Yeah, Tribby is just going to be incredible. Looking at these skills here, the main two we want to kind of focus on are going to be skill and ultimate, kind of combined with talent. So skill gains numinosity, lasting for 3 turns. While Tribby has numinosity, increases all allies' target ally type res pen by 24%. So that's good. Next, we go to ultimate. Activates a zone and deals quantum damage equal to 30% of Tribby's max HP to all enemies. While in the zone, increase enemy target's damage taken by 30%. After an ally target attacks, for every 1 target hit, deals 1 instance of quantum additional damage equal to 12% of Tribby's max HP. And then, this is combined with her talent. So already, she's increasing the damage your team does, and increases the damage taken by the enemy. Then, she's going to be attacking herself. After other ally characters use ultimate, Tribby launches a follow-up attack, dealing quantum damage equal to 18% of Tribby's max HP to all enemies. Now that may not sound too impressive. A4. While the zone lasts, Tribby's max HP increases by an amount equal to 9% of the sum of all ally characters' max HP. A2. After using Talon's follow-up attack, increases the damage dealt by Tribby by 72%. This effect can stack up to 3 times. The combination of this ultimate combined with this talent, on top of just already giving more res pen for your entire team, it is simply undeniable the strength that this character is going to have, and just the absolute wonders Tribby is going to do for any character in this game. Any character. Like, there's not going to be a substitute. This is basically if you gave Zhao Cho the most amount of crack possible and turned him into a 6-star. That's what this feels like. Tribby is so incredibly powerful, and she is just going to be around for a very long time. Because again, the thing is though is that what Robin does is vastly, vastly different. But at the end of the day, both these characters are going to increase your damage by an immense amount. And, okay, well, now you're not getting action advance. Okay, well, just have the support DPS do it anyway. Just have Tribby fucking unleash it on them either way. You're getting to the same outcome. They're gonna die. And that is beautiful. Tribby is just such a phenomenally powerful character, made in a very unique way, that this type of buff, this is always going to be pretty good. And then especially if we're going to start adding characters who are going to scale off of HP, she's going to get stronger because there's no limit to the HP on this. She can keep rising up. There's a lot that you can do with Tribby, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see how she will continue to evolve and what other characters are kind of going to be, like, great for her, whoever else they add in. But as of right now, Tribby is incredibly powerful. I don't see a world where they're going to make another character like this for at least a little bit. So Tribby is going to be in her own realm, kind of alongside the other top Harmony and Amplifier units in the game. Quite honestly, I think Tribby is very deserving. Tribby is a very cool character, you know, pretty fun. And yeah, Jesus Christ, he has a nuke. Now that we've talked about Tribby, I honestly think this is kind of the extent of where my thoughts lie. I've already made mention of the DPSs. I've talked in short about Robin, didn't really get as much into her. I don't feel like many of the other characters in this top area are really worth discussing. Not because I don't think they won't hold up super well, but mainly because I just don't think they're going to compete as much with some of the other characters I've mentioned today. Sorry, Zhao Cho. Everyone always forgets about Zhao Cho. Zhao Cho's a cool character. I don't know, I don't feel like talking about him, I'm sorry. But yes, so anyway, that's the extent of my thoughts. I really hope you guys enjoyed. as per usual, I always love hearing what you guys have to say in the comments, and especially if you have any more ideas for these kind of rant-style videos. I really enjoy making these. This is a lot of fun to kind of get all this information and analysis out of my head, even if I'm not always the most on point. It's still really fun for me, so if you got any suggestions for those types of videos, leave them down below. Always love hearing it. And yeah, plenty more good stuff on the way, so I hope you look forward to that, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.